another spontaneous video here. All right, so what do we have here? Some of this, of course, you'll recognize because it's been going on for years. In particular, this area here, okay, and a bit of this area here. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the impersonal planets beyond visual ability to see. So we attribute those to the depths of the soul and mystery and misunderstanding and beyond comprehension. When you're dealing with Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, those are all visible to the naked eye, depending where you live. And so it's much easier to attribute personal experience and personal events, world experience, world events that correlate with the planets. I've noticed over the years, I've been doing this a long time in my own sweet way, that my biggest interest is actually the impersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because they go so far to the depths of the soul and beyond comprehension that we have to start accountability. Okay, that's why a lot of reason why I do these things. I want to get this stuff on record. I don't know if anyone was ever going to see it, but I feel it's my obligation anyway. So, just a quick overview. Pluto's already at the crisis point. It's right here hovering on the cusp. It's Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, but it's heading towards Capricorn. It's going to take us the rest of the year, and then it's going to eventually go direct again and then head back into Aquarius. So this is about a 6-9 month process. And then later in 2025, Pluto will be fully direct in Aquarius for roughly the next 20 years. Back and forth with retrogrades, but it's a 20-year journey. But we're on the cusp now, and this is creating global chaos. Same thing with Neptune over here. It's right on the cusp, moving from Pisces to Aries. Very different energies. And this is, again, going to take another year or so for us to live through this cusp period of crisis. The Saturn challenge is right now we're going to move much more quickly. But at some point, Saturn is going to meet up with Neptune, and we're going to have major global crises at that point in time. We've already talked about that. I think the 13th of March 2025, the critical degree of Neptune. We've got that on calendar. There's others. I haven't marked them all yet, but anyway. So here we are today. Sun is in Cancer, Moon is in Virgo, Mercury is in Leo, Venus just moved into Leo. So that's very interesting that we have this very powerful opposition of Pluto and Venus. Leo, Aquarius. So that's very important for the United States, because the United States has a very important Leo Aquarius axis, not to the degree, but certainly with the nodal axis of America. There you go. America again in the spotlight. Personal planets again. Moon is over here whizzing through, and it's just past the Saturn opposition. Now we're in the Neptune opposition. Virgo opposite Neptune. And what I'm seeing and sensing here on a global scale, especially in the United States, but in most other nations, countries, regarding their elites, their governance, their protocols about what they do, how they do what they do, wherever this aspect lies in their chart, they're having very, very, very serious problems, where anything and everything that is fake, bogus, scummy, dirty, corrupt, riddled with crime, betrayal, lies, blackmail, evil, is fully exposed. And the moon is basically saying here, okay, we can't unexpose this, so what are we going to do? How are we going to clean this up? If you think of Moon in Virgo as a very, very, very emotionally turbulent energy, of realizing this is a staggering sewage spill of human behavior at its worst. What are we going to do to clean it up? Humanity can't exist with this thing permanently in place. So a cleanup campaign is in order. And you can't just fix it in a couple of days with the Virgo moon. This is going to take many, many years, because it took many years. It took 170, 174, 170, something like that, years for Neptune and Pisces to get to this point from the last time it was here on the Neptune return at this degree. And a lot of dirt. In other words, think of the air filter in your car, the oil filter in your car, the computer systems in your car, the air filters in your, perhaps, in your house with air conditioning and heaters and whatever. And they've been neglected and jimmy-rigged and all sorts of things just to keep going. And pretend that they don't need maintenance, and then to discover everything falls apart and everything gets filled up with disease, poison, black mold, and fungus if you don't do the maintenance. And that's what's happening right now on a global scale. On a global scale, planet Earth is literally infecting itself. Human behavior is infecting itself. Obviously, you can know the stories. We're talking about bug number 19 and the recent bug with the little birds, and so on and so on. Man-made, it's self-destruction, like autoimmune disease behavior. Okay, and at the same time, we're trying to heal it. It's very difficult to heal autoimmune behavior because it's like the entity wants to destroy itself and consume itself in its own evil. So that's happening live right now. China is in very deep trouble because of this, because the way the systems work in China, it's all about the absence of love. It's all about deliberately choosing evil over love. Think of the CCP and all of that. And they're coming unglued, very, very big time. Next thing we mentioned this a lot recently, is the Mars-Uranus conjunction crisis heading into it right now. It's happening right here at this calendar moment, but we are right here, just a few days out. But we're already sensing it in the global financial markets. It's extremely volatile, extremely unstable, lots of cracks opening up in the global financial system. It's like the movement of tectonic plates, but in ways that are very violent, extreme, disruptive, terrifying, destructive. That's happening on the global scale. And when we actually reach the 15th, is it? 16th? you know, the 16th, 15th, well, yes, let's just call it the 16th. The moon is going to be over here in Scorpio. It's over here right now. It's just going to take a couple of days, all right, just to go from here to here. And at that point, we're going to have a full-on opposition here, okay? Hi, Necessary. Thanks for showing up. It was a little bit lonely here, but again, I'm doing these things spontaneously, and you know, people don't have to show up, and even if they're watching, they don't have to log in. But anyway, I'm just kind of rattling over the impending crises, because there's multiple crises happening simultaneously across the world. And the higher up you are in the pyramid of power and money and control, the more terrifying it's going to be for you. I'm not one of them, but in a way I'm glad. But in a few days, the moon is going to be here, opposing this very acute, very nasty, hello Victor, very, very nasty conjunction here in the global financial system. Something is going to break big time. Not just a few random headlines over here and there like, oh, mortgage rates are going up. Oh, interest rates are still crazy high. Oh, the stock market is crashing. Oh, the stock market's going up. It's going to boom, boom, boom. Oh, whatever it might be. Oh, the Fed is printing even more money. They just went up to $1.5 trillion in the first few months. Just printing, printing, printing. It's insanity. But we all know that the only way they can keep going is by printing more and more and more and more. They're just building a bigger and bigger bomb. Eventually, it's going to explode. And nobody knows what's happened then, because the fiat money system, as we know it today, has only been in place roughly about 110 years. And the real mechanism came to full activity in 1913 here in the United States with the Federal Reserve. And then it's expanded worldwide, and everyone else in the world, central banks, they have to copycat the American Federal Reserve banking system or they die. So that's where we are right now. In the American Federal Reserve banking system, in collusion with the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. federal government and all the big corporations, the stock market, everyone in the stock market, all the BlackRocks, Vanguard, State Street, Blackstone, Fidelities, all of those are in extreme jeopardy. And none of them quite know what's going to happen. Japan has a major systemic global trading bank that just blew up, okay? China's whole financial system is blowing up live, real time. I believe we're looking at some serious damage in China because they have this problem on top of this problem. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Let's go in. I'm going to check in with you guys. Say hello. 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 All right, can you hear me now? Oh, God. Oh, Jesus, man. I'm having so many technical issues recently. The audio should be back. There should be audio. I screwed up. I can see what I did wrong. Thank you very much. I'm trying to operate all this system over here, and every time I think I've got it, I discover I'm so out of my depth a lot of the time just to be able to make a little YouTube video. You got it? Okay, I'm going to have to go back to the stage again. Sorry, I'm just going to buzz through it really quickly. Forgive me. Please forgive me. Okay, we're going to start the whole video again. Damn it. God. All right, this is for today. I'm going to buzz through it all really quickly again. The moon is over here, 29 degrees Virgo. Okay? It's opposing Neptune, 29 degrees Pisces. This is a major crisis point right here, right now. It's a very quick one, but it's very serious. What it is, it's exposing, like, what has to happen. There's complete revealing for the healing regarding Neptune, Pisces, 12th house stuff, all the global corruption, lies, betrayal, blackmail, murder, theft, crime, manipulation, deception, all of that stuff, which has reached a cataclysmic proportion here on Earth. If you think of this as a 170-year journey, it took 170 years to get from a cleanup to where we are right now, where everything is completely and utterly corrupted. Think of it like the oil filter on your car, the air filters in your air conditioning, and so on and so on. And it's been neglected and it's derelict, people trying to find a way around it. Everybody in positions of extreme power, money, and control are doing everything they can to deceive and manipulate each other for their own personal gain, and especially the global elites who are doing everything they can to imprison the common peasants, we the people. Anyway, the stench of truth is so bad. You cannot not smell it. If you can't smell it, then you're deliberately ignoring it, or you are simply oblivious, and you'll have to learn again another lifetime, okay? So anyway, with the fleeting moon here, it's basically, well, what are we going to do to clean this up? Because if you think of the Virgo moon as very pure, very straightforward, it's just dirty work that has to be done. There's no gratitude, nothing. But we have to clean this up, or the world will basically turn into massive chaos, much worse than we have now. In other words, WW3. We're already in it, technically speaking, as far as I'm concerned, because we had these mind-boggling global financial crises. Okay, so we just covered this crisis here. We just had a major crisis point with Saturn, and the moon was opposite over there, which was a big exposure about the cleaning up of all the corruption that we're seeing in Washington. But frankly, every country on Earth, inside their power systems, inside their governance, is dealing with this, okay? All the corruption, whether it's a little tiny place or America, it's all being held accountable. And it's a big, big failed. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to clean it up so that the peasants, so that we the people have a chance? So that's going on right now. Over here, we talked about this many times over the last 3 years or so. We've got another at least 2 or 3 years dealing with this cusp here. Right now, at this very moment, Venus is now in 0 degrees. Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius, 0 degrees. So that's another major opposition. Think of these as relationships. With oppositions, there's nowhere to hide. This is on full display across the world media. Everybody in the world is watching. Everybody in Russia is watching America. America's watching China. China's watching America. The Arabs are watching the Jews. The Jews are watching the Arabs. Russians, Ukrainians watching. It's just, there's nowhere to hide, and everybody's pointing fingers at each other. It's all your fault. It's your fault. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to take you down. I'm sorry. It's your fault. It's your fault. I'm going to take you down. Blah, blah, blah. Pew, 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 pew. So there's a lot of that going on right now. The reason I keep focusing on these is because these are the impersonal planets way, way out there beyond human sight. So with Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, we can see those. And for thousands of years, there has been, let's say, a correlation, or what do they call it in science, empirical evidence that there is some value in astrology. But when you get to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, mostly it's been leaning on mythology until very recently when these were discovered through amazing telescopes and things, that it's real. There's a real Uranus, a real Neptune, a real Pluto, and they have correlations here on Earth. I'm just trying to keep up with it all. The next crisis we have is heading here in a few days, okay? All of this is crisis mode right now. You've probably seen it in Washington, D.C. Republicans, Democrats, all going berserk. But right here, the 16th is like the tipping point of the crisis. Right in here. Okay, Mars. You can't see it, you can't read it, sorry. Mars conjoined Uranus. Right in here, okay? It's extremely volatile, explosive, very, very dangerous energy. And it's happening in the global financial system here, the second house. And it's we already know it's causing global turmoil in the global markets. Okay, the currency exchange, the FX markets, currencies for each country. China's currency is imploding. The US dollar is imploding. But when they all implode simultaneously, it's kind of like, well, so what? It's just everything's relative to the dollar. So if the yuan goes to here, if the dollar goes to here, then the yuan will pivot to here because it's manipulated, and so on and so on. So as the dollar goes up and down and up and down, depending on what Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen are gibbering about in Washington, other central banks have to go whoop, 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 wait a minute, whoop. Otherwise, all the other central banks and all the other countries get into deep trouble very, very quickly, within a matter of hours. It just takes a fraction of an interest point raise or lower to send financial chaos signals across the world. And the United States Fed is an expert at doing that to its own advantage. Anyway, so there's a lot of that happening right now. But the thing is, the world has never been to this point before where we have globalized fiat currencies all pivoting around the US dollar. Before, like back in 1776, there were, dozens of main currencies all over the world, and the dollar was important, the pound was important, the franc, the yuan, all of that, but there wasn't a singular global currency like we have today. And that's become a blessing for America, but it's also become a curse for America, and it's turning into a curse for the world. But anyway, human people are learning as we go. But we're coming to a crisis point on the 16th, okay? The moon is going to be right here, opposing this. It's going to be a shitstorm, okay? So, and it's going to have shockwaves across the world. We already know it's going to have a major impact on China, major impact on the euro, the Japanese yen, and so on and so on. Anyway, let me go over here. There's so much other stuff. I mean, I can't fit it all here. It's insane. It's just insane right now. Let me go back and connect with you guys. See if I can, do this a little bit better. There we are. So there's a lot of action right now over here in the White House, the Oval Office, D.C., in the Treasury, in Congress, in the Supreme Court, all of it, okay? A lot of volatile activity. I'm just going to rattle off a few things. Elon Musk noticed something that was disturbing him for a long time. He has the X platform, as you know, but he's been wondering, why am I not making as much money as I should? And then it's been revealed that there's this GRAM organization, which is like a club for all the major American advertisers and all the brands that they represent. And it turns out that this organization and all the brands lean heavily towards the left. And there's an extreme algorithmic block inside the GRM and all of these agencies to choke and throttle any kind of advertising momentum that goes towards, let's say, common sense avenues, venues, markets. In other words, I would think of, X is a very good platform. I'm learning that it is. But the problem is Elon Musk is at the top, and he's a radical Mars and Aquarius freedom fighter. And that's a problem for the communists and the lefties. So he's basically saying, you know what? Now that this is all being outed, and we've got all the names of all the big mega corporations that are part of this, basically, cartel, to funnel all their ad dollars to the left and starve the right, there's something wrong with that, and we're going to fight this legally. So that to me is a very, very big deal. Financial warfare. Financial chaos coming. Another story I've got for you. You remember Mao Zedong way back in the 50s and the 60s? He was the Communist Party leader of China. And he had his vision, and part of his vision was to enrich himself and his party members. And at the time, China was very much, it was just basically undeveloped, a lot of millions and millions, hundreds of millions of poor people, and not a lot of westernized corporate, capitalist, free market type of structures. It was a very, very closed economy, extremely hyper, almost like paranoid about the rest of the world. They kept to themselves, and they realized, wow, they're looking around, man, there's a lot of people who have a lot of cool stuff and do a lot of things that we don't. So Mao Zedong made it his business to try and find a way to connect with the Western world. And there was, momentum to join the World Trade Organization and things like that. And on condition that Mao Zedong would set aside some of his hyper-communist policies and behave a little bit more responsibly in terms of free market capitalist, in terms of trust, and so on. And he said, okay, I can do that. And it didn't go very well, but anyway, it kind of got things started, and then there were a few other leaders after that, and they took the reins. But while Mao was in office, his way of advancing his economy was basically, he looked at his country and decided, you know what, we got too many people here anyway, and we need to have cash coming in. We need to stop importing food, impoverishing ourselves with the little money that we have by sending it out. What we're going to do now is we're going to make all this food here that we make already, but we're going to export it and get cash. Perfect idea, don't you think? Except that there's a little side effect that left about 70 million people dead from famine and starvation. Well, guess what? There's a very similar story happening today because Mr. Ping likes to model himself on his favorite god leader, Mao. And Mr. Ping is basically setting China up for the same thing. If you follow what's happening inside China, it's heading towards famine, starvation, a complete implosion and collapse of China. Not the CCP, but China itself. The CCP is turned on into stage 5 metastatic cancer. It has now taken full hold, and it is now sucking every amount of life force and energy out of every Chinese person to satisfy itself. And most of that is going towards the elites and the military. There's nothing else. There's nowhere else to go. It's all about satisfying the ego at the moment. Now, this is a big problem. It's a big problem for the peasants and the poor people and the middle class in China because they're in deep trouble already, but it's going to get a lot worse. I'm going to leapfrog some of my notes and go ahead here and then come back to some other notes, okay? So, Mr. Ping is in a very, very difficult position. He's put himself in this position without, he doesn't have his own personal astrologer like you guys do, okay? So, everybody's watching Washington right now, and I'm watching China too, but everybody's watching what's happening in Washington right now because that's going to have shockwaves across the rest of the world. There's a tremendous amount of activity here right now. We've got a huge NATO convention. What are we going to do about the Russia-Ukraine war? So on. There's a lot of chitter-chatter going on about China. What are we going to do about China? And how it's all linking up to Grandpa Joe. And you think, well, he's almost irrelevant at this point, but he's not. He is pivotal to some of the mind-boggling chaos that's unfolding right now. This is my personal opinion. I'm just going to share it. Mr. Ping has declared that he wants to take over the world. He wants to turn the world into one singular CCP-owned organization. He's already heavily infected and infiltrated the United States and the rest of the world. The United States is completely, utterly corrupted with CCP influence in the colleges, universities, schools, corporations, the military-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, Washington, banking, everything. And it's bad, bad news unless you are one of the people receiving the bribes and the kickbacks from the corruption. And then you're okay with that. Okay? That's part of the autoimmune disease of America. I'm not okay with that. I don't think that's a very good idea at all. Anyway, Mr. Ping is locked in with all of that. And his trajectory is heavily dependent on Joe. Because Joe is the guy who has his foot jammed in the front door entranceway of America to keep that doorway open so that all the CCP influence can continue to flood in. The northern border, for example, the southern border, for example, and all the CCP operatives who have now infected and are continuing to infect America so that they can get on with their sabotage. Railway tracks, ammonium, methane, electricity, power plants, cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, blowing up all the food, arson everywhere, arsonists all over the place, okay? And so on and so on. That's all part of the plan to demoralize and crush and create a lot of dysfunction like infrastructure, the internet, the electricity, the power systems. They're practicing very hard right now to destroy all that stuff inside America before anyone's officially declared a war. So that by the time a war does sort of come out, if it's a hot war with real bullets and so on, it'll be Mr. Ping can just walk in and take over. And it's not going to be that easy. It's not going to work out for him because the problem is if Joe departs, if Joe departs the White House, whether he's removed, whether he walks out, however it happens, and he's replaced by someone else, if Joe is removed, then that foot is no longer in the door to keep the front door to America open. There's a lot of pressure to close the front door and the back door to America to stop all this nonsense. And that's going to be a big problem for Mr. Ping because then he won't have the advantages that he's enjoying right now. And he's been banking on this for, 10, 15 years, building up to this moment. So he's got an enormous problem. So and I look at the charts for China, I look at the charts for Xi Jinping and so on. I'm just trying to do a shorthand condensation here for you guys so that you understand I'm sharing my opinions. Joe Biden and Mr. Ping, they are in lockstep, okay? Xi Jinping can't do what he wants to do without Joe. Joe can't be who he is and does what he wants to do without Mr. Ping, okay? It's a very dirty, sick, ugly, corrupt marriage. In essence, at the very pinnacle, it's a debt farm married to a slave camp. That's it. It's a marriage of exploitation. It's all very, very glossy, and it's made to look very, very pretty, but in fact it's a very ugly, ugly, evil, dirty relationship. Anyway, think about the ego of someone like Mr. Ping. We've set this all up, and suddenly at the last minute your plans are falling apart. His country, the China itself, is imploding live, real time. He knows it. He can't stop it. He knows that. He's plundering, pillaging, raping his own economy to scrape up every dime he can from individuals, through local government, through corporations, anything, anywhere he can get money. Fake stock market stuff here in America to get cash in to keep the money going into the military. Because he can't run the war, he can't run the military without a lot of hard cash coming in. He's trying to sell billions and hundreds of billions of bonds right now to get more cash, but he's realized that actually nobody wants to do that because they're figuring out that I don't want to fuel this war. So Mr. Ping is stuck. And because of, I think of it as an ego thing. He's so close to what he wants, so near yet so far. So if Joe stays in, then Mr. Ping is like, phew, I'm okay for a few months longer. In fact, maybe 4 years. I'm good. I can make this happen. If Joe departs or is taken out or something, either in a few days or in the early November or whatever, Mr. Ping is in very, very deep trouble, because the implication from there is that America is going to go into a crisis itself that he can't fully control, or it might be an indication that the other guy, Donald, is going to be sitting up here running the show. If that happens, Mr. Ping is utterly doomed. He doesn't stand a chance in hell. The U.S. military is fully poised and ready to take him down if needed. However, imagine you have like an ego that you can't describe the size. You have to go to war anyway. In other words, you have to go out in a blaze of glory. You have to, my feeling is that Mr. Ping may make a move very, very soon. He may trigger his own false flag, which will, his idea is to bait the Western Alliance so that they make a first move. Oh, excuse me, hold on, I'm not supposed to have this. Excuse me, sorry, it's, I don't want to, I can't deal with this. I should have turned my phone off, excuse me. It's a real problem for him, because Trump has already laid it out, like, I'm sorry, this isn't going to happen. Excuse me. Trump is fully aware of what's happening with Mr. Ping, what's going on in China, and so on. Same thing with the Arabs and the Jews and the Russians and NATO and all of that. All of that stuff is going on in the background. Donald is trying to focus on the issues over here. Joe's trying to focus on the issues over here. Joe is at the very, very pinnacle of power in this world order, and he wants to stay there. He's just as egomaniacal as Mr. Ping, and they both deserve each other. So my feeling is that in order to save face, there might be some very extreme, volatile, violent, explosive, incendiary moment in the near future. The type that people don't want to talk about. People are talking about, oh, China's going to invade in 2027 or 20. No, we're dealing with crisis points right now where fingers are on the trigger, chambers are loaded, ammo's packed in, and somebody's just waiting to pop off. Somebody somewhere. I mean, it's already happening. China is doing everything it can to bait Taiwan, America, the Japanese, the Philippines, all of that, to make a first move with an actual hot weapon. And then China and Mr. Ping can go, well, I told you I have to go to war because of these ridiculous people. So it's a very, very, very volatile situation at the moment. That's just China and Joe and America. But there's also NATO. That's the other side of them. That's the other side of the Atlantic. And NATO, as you know, it's in Washington right now. They got a massive panic session. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to keep this war going? Okay? NATO has to keep the war going. America, military-industrial complex, has to keep the war going because that's all about the money, honey. It's a big, big, big money racket. It's a disgusting, evil cabal to make money. They call it a banker's war. The Arab-Jewish war, it's a banker's war. The Russia-Ukraine war, it's a banker's war. There's other layers, of course, like, biolabs and things like that, and Russian history and European history and stuff like that. But at this very moment in time, a lot of it is purely about the money. Okay? Hello, Starzy. So that's my take on things. The thing is about Mr. Ping in China, he's also indirectly involved. He's got his Taiwan thing going, which is his prime objective, but whether he likes it or knows it or not, he's intimately shackled himself to Russia. He's also shackled himself to Iran and North Korea in such a ways that I believe the laws of unintended consequences are going to be heavily activated. Again, more volatility, extreme, highly unpredictable volatility. Mars conjoined Uranus in Taurus regarding money. If you don't have the money to go to war, you can't go to war. You're going to be obliterated. Okay? Just today and yesterday, well, it's been going on a long time, but it was headlines today. Some big Chinese ships, warships, were spotted just outside Alaska, sort of in this in-between zone where it's international or maybe not. And that's a bit of a problem. Again, it's more baiting. Right now, Joe, as you know, he's here, but I think what's happening, he's trying to fend off a mutiny. It's at the point where it's just splurging out. It's like watching a weird soap opera. Very, very weird soap opera. And maybe it's planned. Maybe it's all planned out. I don't know. Not too sure. Anyway, I'm just going to go a couple more things and I will leave you in peace. So we talked about this earlier after I recovered the sound. Oh, I put it on here. These are just my other notes. Oh, this is the important. So these are just my very quickie notes here. Mars conjoined Uranus in Taurus, 26 degrees. Moon in Virgo, 26 degrees, around the 16th, but we've got the orb of influence of 15th, 16th, and 17th. This is kind of where we are right now. In a couple of days, we're going to have the moon in Scorpio, okay? So I've already talked about that one. Now, it's very interesting with Grandpa Joe. Guess what? Guess what, people? Grandpa Joe, if you look at his chart, he's got Sun and Venus and Mars and something else in Scorpio. But he's got Sun and Venus pretty much at 27 degrees in Scorpio. Now, isn't that funny? Mars and Uranus, 26 degrees in Taurus. That's an opposition. Major, major opposition. What does that look like for Joe? This is how it looks for Joe. Joe's got all his energy up here in the 12th house. It's perfect for a politician, especially if your political career depends on lies, deception, betrayal, theft, and so on. He's got Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars in Scorpio. He's already under a lot of pressure here because of the transit, but the real opposition is here in a few days, okay? And guess what? That Virgo moon, which is over here right now, it's going to be over here in Scorpio. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a very scary moment for Joe. Okay? This particular date, 16th of July. Please do not be surprised if you see some major shocking headline regarding Joe. Okay? Because he's dealing with this major opposition here. I will highlight it like this. But it's going to be extra powerful because of the moon. Okay? This is very explosive, very unstable, very destabilizing. Okay? So I think I'll end with that, because that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I like that little mini chart. That's Joe. I mean, that's not all of it. I'm just pulling out the things we're talking about right now, the critical stuff, okay? Anyway. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I forgot one little juicy thing for you. Let me share this, see if I can find it. Where's my gadget? I've got a gadget here. Oh yeah, here it is. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I want to share this with you. Oh my God! If this doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Now, how do I find this? I've got to go to my... let me see. It might be files, pictures. Let's have a look. Okay. Got it. I'm pressing. I'm doing this live real time. Sorry. Downloads. Let's do that. I think I got one here. Oh, where is it? Where is it? I know I've got it. Okay, please bear with me. I don't want to miss this. Okay? Oh, where did I put my notes? Hold on. Bird flu committee, early October. Here it is. Outbreak, these, use medical, blah, blah, blah. AFS. It's got a certain special name to it. Oh, I've lost it. I might have to come back and catch up with this for you. Let me just try one more thing here. Let's try that thing. I basically want to show you a PDF file for the for this meeting that's coming up in very, very early October. My drive, computer. Nope. My drive. All right, forget it. I'll post a special little mini video later on, okay? I'm going to wrap it up now. Leave you guys in peace. Okay? Stay awake, stay alert. Just take care of yourself, mind your own business, your health as best you can, and just be aware. You don't want to get caught in the shrapnel or the line of fire. There's a lot of extreme hypervolatility happening right now. And by the way, everything that I show you on the charts, that affects people personally, but it depends on your personal astrological makeup and where those particular crises, trigger points are affecting you in your own life, okay? But that's a whole other type of astrology, okay? Right now, I'm going to wrap it up. Check out, and I'll probably post another video very soon. It might be live. Anyway, I'll do my preparations, do it properly, okay? Take care, everybody. I'm going to just check out now, okay?